Good morning, everybody. This is Yin Yang in California. And the reason I say California is that I have a guest from Arizona on today. And we're going to discuss a little bit about houselessness and the various ways things can happen to ordinary people. So we have with us today Bella in Arizona. She is why don't you tell us a little about yourself, Bella?
Okay. Good
Um,
morning, Mary, and thank you for having me on your show this morning. Um, I have been a native of Tucson, Arizona. I lived here all my life, and I became homeless December 29th of 2022. I was previously a caregiver, and the gentleman that I was taking care of passed away. So that started my journey. I was 3 years and 3 months, almost to the day, without being in a home, and I was going from shelter to shelter. There's different types of shelters, so I was in women's shelters. However, I was also in a church type of shelter. Um, and so probably about three or four different shelters in the 3 years and the 3 months that I was homeless. I just now moved.
Honestly, that's very few compared to some people.
Yes, yes. They have a time limit on them per se. So you can be in there for when you go in and they do your intake appointment, you have 90 days, 3 months that you can stay there. However, if you're working, they put you what they call a transitional program. And that transitional program helps you so that you can stay there until you get a place. But there's a lot of things that are involved in that process. And so sometimes it just doesn't happen. So it doesn't happen that you just get into a shelter and you get a job and you get into an apartment. Easier said than done.
So,
So,
what you're saying is that people are not necessarily accurately placed in any of these programs that are
yes.
available, and there are various programs. So, could you please tell us more about how you started out and how you got into that situation, and then how you came out?
Sure. So I became homeless because the man that I was taking care of, uh, actually I was supposed to be able to stay there for a couple of more months, but you know how that works out. Sometimes family gets in disputes, and there was one thing led to another. So from there, I called a couple of friends, and I had a friend that and said that yes, you can come over. I was only there for probably about a month. I didn't know anything about shelters. I didn't know anything about being homeless. It was the first time ever in my life. So I just started Googling the information. And so that's how I found the very first place that I went to. And it was like a church setting. So there was two different homes that were connected together, one for the men and one for the women. So I stayed there for about 3 months. And then from there, I checked into a little bit closer where I could get in that was going to help me to actually guide me to get into a place of my own. So from there, I went into Sister Jose's. From there, I went to Casa Paloma. So there was, like I said, quite a few places that I went to before. Yeah.
Now, did you grow up in a very economically deprived situation, or did you?
No, the 10 years that I was working, he was a good friend of mine. And so instead of receiving payment, funds for taking care of him, I was living in his home for free. That was a trade there. So I didn't have any way of saving. And
Wh-
so I should have been more prepared. I didn't have, I look back and there's a lot of things that I should have changed differently. But it got to by the time I really thought about a way of
What
doing things and saving money, I,
what would
it was
you
great.
right? What would you say about the major things you would have done differently if you'd had to start that over again?
Yeah, I probably would not go back to living caregiving because it is, you have to be there 24 hours. The family members, I would call them, they did not want to be involved, of course, or they were busy. So, and when you're responsible for a person like that, you just can't get up and say, well, I'm going to go work another part-time job and I'm going to leave you here for a while. It doesn't work out that way because it depends on what type of medical problems, medical issues they have, you know? So I would have,
Then, were there, would it be more reasonable to say they should have been paying you some form of stipend so that you could have saved?
yes,
So that means that you were basically working for slave wages.
yes, yes.
Ah,
And I
this is
had
an
a lot,
interesting.
yeah.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Very interesting, huh?
Yeah.
How did you wind up coming out of your situation?
So by the grace of God, I've been a dental assistant slash receptionist for 29 years. So I went back, redid my resume, and I was having a problem because I was in the caregiving, working as a caregiver for 10 years. So I had to go back into computer classes to refresh my memory real quick about, where I left off and where we are today. So because nobody wanted to hire me because I had 10 years lacking of technology, right? So I went back, was able to find a place that is like an employment agency. They actually paid me to take computer classes. So I took the computer classes, spreadsheets, all of that, did all that in probably 2 months. And then they helped me to start. I did my resume, went on interviews, and that's how I got on my feet. Yeah.
That's wonderful. How long did it take you to get on your feet, so to speak?
So it was about 5 months. So I went into Casa Paloma in September. I believe it was September 17th. And my actual exit date was scheduled for, I think it was January or February. It was 90 days from there. And because I was working, they put me in the transitional program. And my case manager said, Charlene, I had already found a place actually. And I really didn't want to be in an apartment. I wanted to be like in a little casita or a townhome or something that had a yard, you know. But she says, you know what? I actually have found something better. If you'll trust me to kind of walk you through this and get you into it. And she says, and we'll get you going into that. And I said, okay. I said, that sounds good. So I left my apartment behind and I went and followed her, which I'm kind of glad because I'm not kind of glad, I am glad. Even though it took longer, I'm happy where I'm at. So yeah.
I wonder if you could explain to us some of the differences between the programs that were available, not the ones you were necessarily in only, just what you think you saw that would be
Housing
applicable to people in the
okay.
public.
Like the housing programs, okay, there are so many different, so amongst the different shelters, there's not a whole lot of knowledge from the case managers as far as the housing because you have Section 8, okay, which is government. And then you have the low income housing. So that's also going by your income. Then you have ones where they'll take care of your rent, maybe 3 months or 6 months, pay the first and last month. You get in there, and then after your 3 or 6 months pay the rent, then you start paying the regular. So there's a lot of different types of housing programs, and so it just depends on what you qualify for. So you really have to. I did a lot of research, Mary. I mean, I must have researched probably about 6 months, almost a year, Googling, going in person. And the more I researched, the more confused I got because it's such a big, uh, industry and so much information that you need to know, really.
You
So
call it an industry, so how are the people on the other end profiting from doing all this?
the people that are working, some of them, I believe, are profiting more than what they should be. And I'll tell you why. It's just like what's you see going on in this country right now. It's the fraud is just absolutely horrid. We've had it here in Tucson. Um, see, last summer and the summer before, there was two housing places that there were hotels that turned into. They made them into housing shelters,
Hmm.
and places for people to live that were disabled. And these people ended up out on the streets after like about a month because the money was kept in the pockets. So there's a lot of, there's no reason why we should be in this situation, any state, because there's a lot of money that's given. Um,
So, from where though? From whom?
Well, I'm talking about from the governments all the way down to people that donate. So you can have, yeah, people that represent or individual people that donate, big donors. So, but yeah, they starts from the federal level all the way down. Yeah.
So there are grants being given by corporations and
Yes.
from individuals, the philanthropers,
Yes.
philanthropers, and the government. Um,
Yes.
and would you say that this has even touched Social Security, that
Oh,
system?
absolutely.
There are
Absolutely.
people pocketing some funds from that
Oh,
public
yeah.
system, and
Yes.
then the people that are supposed to be receiving the money are going onto the streets in their crutches or in
Yes.
their with their sleeping bags or with their
Right.
backpacks. Did you ever have a car?
Yeah, I did. I absolutely had a car, and in 2000, and it was actually just like about 8 months before I ended up becoming homeless. That my car had it should have been recalled. It was a really nice car, and it broke down, and I didn't have the heart to sell it uh, whole like that because it was a very dangerous thing. If you going 35, 45, 65 miles an hour, it would just the computer would automatically shut the engine off on the car instead of telling you what was going on. Yeah, and it happened to me like 3 times. I started researching it and I checked into Chevrolet, and all of a sudden I see all of these comments about people having near accidents with families and stuff. Yeah. So I
That
couldn't,
could be fatal. I have
yes,
been through that one time.
absolutely. Yes. I was in the middle of an
Um,
intersection.
somebody, right, I had something installed, and it was installed incorrectly, and then the battery was not recharging every time. So after two
Oh,
months, one day it froze. And the person who recharged the battery actually said to me, "This could have been fatal because what if you'd been going on the freeway? It could
yes,
have caused you a fatal accident."
yes,
So, what you're saying is that when your car went out of order like that, you started to be unable to complete your tasks and errands as
right.
you should have been able to. And then, therefore, some other things catapulted you into this homeless stream of
Right.
programs. My
Yes.
goodness. So,
Yeah.
well, thank you very, very much for coming on the
Oh,
show.
you're
And
welcome.
I
Thank you for
really
having me.
appreciate your help. And
Thank you.
I'm hoping that this goes onto the internet and that people will start to see it and understand that these problems happen to everybody. I mean, look at Bella. She's
Yes.
a beautiful woman. She looks like your next door neighbor, your receptionist, your dental assistant,
Thank
and
you.
here she's been. Look at she's
Thank
been
you.
through all of this, and according to her, there is a lot of what's the word for it? I don't know the word for it, but it's some kind of um, pilfering or
Yes.
corruption that's
Corruption.
happening throughout the system. So,
Yes, absolutely.
okay. Well, if you have anything else to add, um,
No, only I think that the public needs to get more involved and aware so that we can begin to change things because, we have that power here in the United States of America. So we can, if as long as we stick together in unity and go and start filing things and through the courts or what have you, I'm sure that we could make a difference. So that's what I'm hoping for.
so how would you suggest let's brainstorm here a little bit
Hmm.
and see, since you've been on the receiving end of the problem,
Hmm.
how about some ideas, specifically what an ordinary person can do who hasn't been through this yet?
Okay, so I'm going to start like a book of steps, and first thing off is resources. It's so very very important to have names and phone numbers and addresses of who you can call to get directed to the right place where you need to be. Because as we were speaking in the very beginning, if you have a mental health issue, if you have a drug issue, whatever issue you have, that is going to be the type of place that you're going to be searching for in order to get in there. So number one is the resources. Number two is actually having or knowing transportation. If you don't have transportation on your own, where you can get transportation for free to help you, and so on and so forth, and that type of, yeah. So
I'm thinking as well, with the power that we have, how should we use the power? Filing court cases is one way.
yes,
Um, I don't believe rallies. My personal opinion is that
no,
rallies will take a lot of energy out of
I
everybody,
agree.
but it'll
I
prevent
agree.
them. It'll stagnate that energy, and nobody will do anything next.
Right.
So, what we can do is probably call our legislators and give
Yes.
them our opinions
Yes.
frequently on the telephones. There's actually a way to go on the internet and search for your own area code and your own uh, state, and your see who your legislators are, and the internet will tell you and direct you, and you can click on the button that
Yeah.
dials their phone number, so you don't even have to put it into your phone.
That's
So
correct.
there are ways you can let people know, and the people that the powers that be can do
Yes.
things accordingly. So
That's right.
okay, I want to thank you again, Bella. It was
Thank
wonderful to
you.
see you. And someday, if you'd like to tell us your real name, you're free to come back to this video and
Okay.
show it and say, hey,
Great. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Mary. Thank you.
you're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Old Kinderhook, you guys. Old Kinderhook was the eighth president of the United States, and he always wanted to see things go to their Monroe. He was from
Oh,
Kinderhook, New York, and I
oh.
always end my shows with okay.
Uh-huh.
That's where we get okay.
Yeah.
Old
I didn't know that.
Kinderhook.
I learned
Yay.
something new today. I love that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.